Arrow Season 4, Episode 18, 11:59. Now, I gotta say, this episode definitely surprised me with its ending. I thought for sure they were kind of playing around with the idea of who they're gonna kill off again. And from the very beginning, I never thought it was gonna be Laurel because she's Black Canary. And she's like, it's not like Sarah when she was Black Canary. It's like, no, Laurel, in the comic books, it is Laurel Lance that's Black Canary. And it really shocked me. I was very surprised. They kind of, did the ups and downs. Like, okay, she got stabbed. She was stabbed in the stomach. They did the recovery thing, so I was like, okay, so they were playing around with the idea. Everyone's freaking out. Ends up being fine. And then she kind of just, goes into shock, and she does actually die in this episode. And it was a great ending scene. Of course, very sad. Obviously, a character died. But it was a great ending scene. Of course, the hardest part was Lance when he shows up. Like, he lost his daughter. Was like, okay, so he lost Sarah the first time, then he lost her the second time. Now he's lost Laurel. So it's like he just keeps losing the same two kids over and over again. So he's dealt with that, and I would assume this time it'll be permanent unless they go back to the Lazarus Pit, which they couldn't, because last time we got to see it, Nissa destroyed it, or at least destroyed its regenerative properties. So they can't really go that route. They could do something magic based if they want to bring her back. I don't know that even if that is the case, they won't do that for another season, and I don't know if I don't know if I'd be happy about that or upset about it, and there's just this huge question now: is who's going to be Black Canary, or maybe they're just changing it in general because it could, there are literally multiple worlds. They've introduced that in this universe itself with the Flash series, so they could do it where there is no Black Canary. Later on, like when there's supposed to be a Justice League and all that, there just won't be a Black Canary. So they could do it that way. I heard a story very recently, which I never knew this, but apparently Black Canary, from like Earth 3 or something, came to like Earth 1 at one point in the comics to live there after she lost someone that was close to her. So they might do that, who knows. But it was just crazy. It was actually very surprising that they did that. Honestly, I thought we still had like 2 or 3 months left before they actually got to the funeral section of the storyline. So that surprised me in itself. Even the promo, like I said, I thought they were just going to play around with the idea like, oh, someone's going to die. And it was almost the exact same thing as with Felicity. It was like, well, of course she's not going to die. We still have like 4 months to go. I thought we still had about 2 or 3 months to go. And so it really surprised me because I'm like, it's first off, we have like 2 or 3 months to go. I was still in that camp. Secondly, it's Black Canary. They aren't going to kill off the actual comic book character because it really is her and it's, not Sarah. So they already did the transition to who is meant to be the Black Canary. It's not going to be her. And then, they'd already done it. And I guess I kind of fell for it when it was like, oh, she got attacked and then she was fine. That was just like, oh, there's secondary ploy. They're going to do it with the third character, so we don't know who's going to live and who's going to die. But it definitely happened. They really did it in this episode. We don't have one until, I believe it was the 22nd or something like that. So that kind of sucks that we have to, we lost a character, then we have to wait a couple weeks to see where they really take things. So looking forward to the next episode, of course. This was definitely a fun episode in itself. It did, it was just a good action episode, really. And then it got super sad, of course, at the end. But lots of crazy action. Malcolm Merlin teleporting into places left and right in this episode. Poofy's in the cave. Poofy's in the prison. He's just like walks on the screen and he's in places. So lots of good action scenes. We got to see Malcolm and Thea actually fight again, and I thought that might be a scene where he actually killed her, or maybe she would die, or maybe both Malcolm and Thea would die, because during the scene where Damien gets his power back and he kind of throws Diggle and Thea, I thought maybe Malcolm's going to turn on him because he's going to try to kill his daughter, and he'll still end up killing Thea anyway, and then he'll maybe kill Malcolm, or Malcolm will escape or something. So there were moments where I thought for sure it would end up actually being somebody else, and especially with Malcolm Merlin, it's like despite Thea being his daughter and some of the stuff he said, all I can think of is that scene where he's like, I'm going to let her die, and then he still never really apologized for being totally wrong about what Nissa was going to do. So I still only think of that, but I guess at this point it doesn't matter. We know who's died, and we know, how far they're going to go to stop Damien Darkh, and of course he's in the wind, he's escaped, he's kind of just walked free out of prison, he's got his powers back. Unfortunately, because the whole episode it was that big question, and it's like, is Andy good? Is he bad? you just don't know. It's hard to tell. And then, of course, at the end, he has the stone. He gives it to Darkh, and we find out that he is a bad guy still. And I was like, that really sucks because I wanted him to be a good guy. And I was thinking, like, during the scene where Oliver attacked him in the apartment, I was like, I really hope he's wrong. And, it would suck between him and Diggle for a little bit, but that's way better than his brother still being, a bad guy. And, of course, technically, that is what led to Laurel actually dying in this episode, because, there's, like, that final little moment, and if he was really on their side, maybe he could have tricked him or something. He could have just shot him if he wanted to, which, there's a scene early on, and I think it was during that scene. It was some scene really early on in this episode. And I was like, I don't know why they don't just kill him. And I guess that was because that's not what they're doing. Even though they shot like 3 dozen people in this whole episode. I was like, I don't understand their rules at this point. Because Diggle has a real gun. I know his brother has a real gun. They're part in the prison. They were only shooting people. Oliver definitely killed one of the League of Assassin members when they were on the truck. I was like, okay, he shot him in the chest. So he's dead, right? And then, I guess with Thea and Laurel, they didn't really kill anyone. They were like the only people in this episode that didn't kill anybody. And they also had some really great fight scenes. They were doing like the team up stuff, which I actually mentioned before. I kind of loved them as like a little duo within the group. And we got 2 of those scenes this episode, which I guess makes sense why they were kind of playing that up so much, because it would be the last time. But I always loved those scenes, and that was really cool. We got to see them, when they fought in the cave. I thought it was actually pretty awesome. And then when they're in the cell block, it's a nice little shot. And they're just doing all the really cool choreography and stuff. So they're just, destroying those guys. And then we get a cool fight between Thea and Malcolm, where he does overpower her. And he's like, because you lost that drive to kill, you can't beat me. And I thought that was actually a really cool line. And he's like, I'm not going to kill my daughter, of course. And he takes off, which, like I said, surprised me, because I'm still in the mindset of, he doesn't really care that much, but apparently he does. He even says he does when he shows up at the cave. Like, it's not exactly as mutual as you might think as far as us not caring about each other. But they had some cool fight scenes. Of course, the whole prison stuff was basically 100% action scene until like the last 5 or so minutes when it got like really crazy and dramatic. But it was really good. I really enjoyed the action of that. There wasn't much else in the story. Like, we had this stuff with Laurel possibly being DA, which I thought was definitely how they were going to take her character, at least for a time, where she, take the position, and they even do it. And that was kind of one of the things I'm like, they might be doing this, because that's definitely one of those things that they do in TV, where it's like, oh, this character has such a drastic change, but at the same time, it wasn't so drastic where I thought it could make that much of a difference. I was like, that could be a big enough deal, because she was going to give up being Canary, but obviously the same thing happens, when they kill her off. But she did decide at the end when she's like, I couldn't, or like she didn't really want to give it up, because fighting with them was like a really great part of her life. But, they had that storyline, like if she'll take it, if she won't take it, how it might change things and stuff like that. And I thought that was actually a really good storyline. Like, I know for some people, obviously Laurel in general, since the beginning of the series, has really had ups and downs for a lot of different people. I never really had a problem with her character. I think maybe early on was probably like the only time I ever had like any sort of slight issue. But other than that, I liked the stuff that she went through. Like when she was on drugs and stuff, I know a lot of people like hated that. I actually enjoyed it a lot, honestly. I was like, that's actually really good. And then that actually ended up tying in with her father, because he ended up going back through issues and stuff. And I was like, I actually like that storyline. But lots of ups and downs for her character. Of course, everyone still loves Sarah over Laurel as far as being Black Canary. But now we've lost this character. It's going to be a big change in the show. And it makes me wonder if they'll bring Sarah back from Legends of Tomorrow and put her in Arrow again as Black Canary. So there's a huge question, because are they going to bring back the Black Canary? Are they going to kind of make this, it's its own universe, it can be whatever, and it's not, they're just not going to have Black Canary, or what they're going to do. But I'm really looking forward to this next episode. This was certainly a good episode to send Laurel out on. I think she had her side story, I personally thought, was pretty good with what she was going to do as far as being a DA and how she'd have to give up being a superhero, basically. I was like, that's actually good, because that's not something they've had before. They've had Oliver quit, but it wasn't like, oh, I'd have to do this or quit. It was like, I'm out of here. And he left. It wasn't even that big of a deal. It was like, I'm done. I'm with Felicity and I'm leaving. So it wasn't really dramatic or anything like that. So I actually like getting to see that aspect of things. And unfortunately, her decision didn't really matter because she ultimately died in this episode. But it was really good, and of course, the episode in general was great, just as far as an action episode. So it's definitely, as far as action, it's one that can easily be one of the better episodes because it's like, well, there's not too much story. The story that's within it is actually good. Laurel's choices and Andy, kind of the mystery. Like, is he still under mind control? Is he not under mind control and just evil? Is he not evil? So we had like three weird little options there. No official answer, but it seemed like he was basically just evil. It didn't, because it started off with mind control, but it's really hard for me to be like, no, he's just totally evil now because it was mind control. They took pills and poof, they were under mind control for like forever. So it's a little hard to be like, yeah, he's just evil because he's evil. Granted, he did, illegal stuff in the past, but it's like, that's a little different than let me give this guy basically ultimate power to, like force choke people and kill whoever he wants to. So I don't know. It's still hard to tell if it's just he's bad or it's mind control bad. But either way, I thought this was a fun episode. Sucks to see Laurel go, of course, but I definitely want to know what you guys thought about this episode. So please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts, and obviously I have to ask, were you guys surprised by Laurel's death in this episode? From the very beginning, who did you think was gonna die? Because for me, I think it was always really hard to choose who was going to end up dying because it's like, well, it's not going to be Thea, but it could be at the same time. And that was another thing, just like with Laurel, it's like they can't kill Speedy because if they kill Thea, they don't have anyone to go to because for Roy, they did every version of Red Arrow except for Speedy because Speedy was like the initial carnation was Speedy. And then they did him as Red Arrow from the very beginning. And then or they did Arsenal first, and then they did Red Arrow. I can't remember which one they did first, but they basically did both names for him, and then they did Thea, as Speedy. So I was like, well, they can't kill her because then once again they'll have no one, and they can't kill Laurel because then they'd have no one seemingly. And then it was like, well, they could do Diggle, but it was like there's so much other stuff in there, like the Argus stuff, and obviously this was way beforehand. It was like, well, they kind of get rid of the Argus storyline if they did that a little bit. And there are a lot of reasons to keep certain characters around, but I want to know if you guys were right about your prediction as to who would die. Do you guys even care that it was Laurel? Does that really impact you? Because for me, it certainly does. I liked her character. Like I said, I never just hated her character like a lot of people did. And like I said, I know she has had her ups and downs, but I think she's certainly been better in the past couple seasons. I think my favorite really was when she was like on drugs and stuff. I was like, I actually like that. Just the tension and how dramatic it was. It was actually good drama and not just like relationship drama that didn't matter to me. But enjoyable episode. The flashback wasn't too bad. It was kind of like the episode before last where it was like, okay, it's got some action in it. They killed a buttload of people. They do mention Russia. It's like, oh, if she dies, which as soon as they said that, I was like, well, I guess that's why he goes to Russia because she gets killed now. So that's in my head. I'm assuming she's going to die. So that's why he's going to end up in Russia by the end of the season. But I thought it was pretty cool. Like, we have Conklin, and he has the idol, which Oliver actually mentions to everyone, like, hey, I've seen this idol before. It's been like a week or something, like quite a bit of time since they've had this. And it's like, yeah, I've seen this before on the island. And so now they know. Granted, I don't, it doesn't matter that much, but it'll be cool to see how that transition, because I'm wondering if Conklin would just be buried forever, which I'm assuming he won't, because he only took 2 souls. So somebody came along fairly quickly, or he escaped, and maybe he'll still be an issue in the next season through the flashbacks. Maybe he'll just be chasing Oliver down. Not that I feel like that would matter to him, but we'll see what happens. So I'm kind of looking forward to it. It's almost over, so I am actually looking forward to how they do the flashback, since it's just going to be ending soon. So I'm curious. I've been curious the whole season, but it's just been so slow. It's like, ugh. But we're close to the end of the season, so I am looking forward to how they end off this season of the flashbacks. But like I said, I definitely want to know your feelings about Laurel actually being killed off, whether or not you guys thought that she would be the one to get killed off, and I definitely want to know where you guys think they'll be taking the mantle of Black Canary. Like, will it just end here, or will they bring Sarah back? Will they resurrect Laurel? Which I hope they don't, because that would be super cheap if it was like especially if they did it this way, because it's like, oh, it happened. We knew from the basically the beginning of the season somebody dies, and then it's like next season she's brought back to life or something. I'd kind of be mad about that. Like, they built up a whole season on this idea of a character dying, and then the next season it's like, here she is, totally cool. That's a super cop out. Like, if they did it 2 seasons from now, not as big of an issue, but still, kind of weird. But like I said, I want to know how you guys feel about it, what they're going to do with Black Canary, and just what you guys thought about this episode in general. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.